right, guys. And girls. So, this is a part two to my earlier podcast about um, boats for sale in and around Woodbury, what I look for. The reason why I'm doing this second video today or podcast is because I had to use a different computer because the other one, and so basically when I got to about 10 minutes it would start having memory issues and start flickering the camera. So it's now dark out. I don't have as much light. Otherwise, I wouldn't be doing it. Um, I do it with more natural daylight. Looks better for me, but really, this is about the bolts. Okay, so to do a kind of different, you know, look at what is out there. So I talked about this in the last podcast or video, uh, $5,000 or less boats, right? So these are some pretty interesting ones. Is the 1997 Sea Ray 24 240, which is a 24-foot Sundancer. I had a 270 Sundancer SE, and the SE was special edition, and it was thinner. So it was the beam was 8.5 versus like a 9.5. So let's take a look at this one, see what he has, see what he's saying. Okay, 350 Mercruiser Alpha 1 drive. Alpha 1 on that size of boat, you know, it does have the 5.7. It is a 97, so if you didn't catch the last podcast, we want to stay above 96 because 96 they went to the Vortec. It has 2,300 hours. If that engine hasn't been rebuilt, it's due. Serviced, all fresh fluids, waxed, ready to go. I do have trailer. See, this is where it's an interesting combination of finding so you can have marinas literally pick up boats and transport them. The question is how much, and when we go back to the other screen, I'll show you a trailer that's out there. Of course, you want to buy by weight and how many axles you need and everything like that. This is a pretty good looking boat. This is the same layout that I had in the 270 that I had, which I've got to do a video on. That could have been cleaned up. I won't do another single stern drive like this because it's just too hard to control with current, wind, and everything else. If you don't have a bow thruster, anything over 20 feet becomes very difficult. Twin drives would be better. Twin drives and a bow thruster is definitely optimal. This thing is pretty. I mean, it's gonna need to be rebuilt. Is there any motor? There's no motor pictures. So that's one thing that upsets me because I want to see the bilge. I want to see the exhaust manifolds. See if there's any rusting. Do you see this thing? No. Okay, so let's go to a one that's even. So this one, right? This is basically you're buying the trailer. I mean, the boat needs both engines rebuilt. Motors don't start. One is hydro locked. Clean out the water. Turned over by hand. There was water in the boat. Okay, so he diagnosed this thing, asking 3,400 or best offer. Now, comes on a trailer. It has dual IOs. It is older. 1990, right? So we're getting the older Mercruisers in this. I believe they're Mercruisers. Yeah. Still, I mean, obviously you'd have to redo the interior. That carpet needs to go. But he's only selling it for $3,000 or best offer. I mean, the guy is priced correct. Depending on the damage to the motors. If there was pictures of the motors and you could see, I bought new batteries. Might try to work on it today. See, it's interesting when they add all this extra information. I might. Well, why don't you just take it off the market, work on it, fix it, and see if you can get it started? Like, I mean, obviously, I would tear down the blocks if they're full of water, but I also don't know his diagnosis of it. I'd start with the manifold and go from there. Anyways, let's go on. See, here's this trailer. 200, this trailer needs to be it needs tires, it needs new jack, new winch, right? But it's good. I mean, 18-foot trailer with bunks, for 225. That's a deal. Just needs some work. I mean, there's other trailers on here for way too much. Let's see about this Larson. What do they got here? Larson, the V6 Alpha 1 drive. What year? 2003, so we're over 96. Radio ladder. Let's see. Ooh, that's clean. This thing is actually, yeah, that's a good price for it. And look at how clean it is. Like, has a foldaway tongue. A little bit of rust on that thing. I wonder if it's been sitting outside. There is a nice engine picture. Ah, that's interesting that that's an inline six. I clearly didn't know that motor existed. I really shocked that they would have this. That's probably the reason why it's not moving, but it's only been a week. But an 18-foot, it'll go good, but obviously when you're running an 18-foot with a 5 liter or 5.7, it's going to go faster. It is clean, you know. Um, and we don't have any hours, do we? No hour meter has radio. That's a little bit of a red flag. Okay, do we have maintenance records? No, we don't have any maintenance. Title in hand, Golden trailer. Okay. So these are the questions I would ask. Does it have maintenance? All right, so this one, basically you're buying the trailer. I've looked at this one. Needs new motor. Now, this is the question. How do they know? Did they have it into a shop? Why didn't they, I would have put it in there. Does it need a new lower unit too? See, there's a 4.3 V6. And this is a 1998, but that is a Vortec. Yeah. I don't know, like it might be so far as my research has been done is that the hydrolock is an interesting problem, right? You can have a motor that won't start because the starter's bad. You can have a motor that won't start because the pistons are haven't moved in for so long. It doesn't mean that the engine block is cracked. It doesn't mean that, it could just be, needs to be hand cranked over with oil pushed into it, but then did it do damage to the rings and the cylinders? So there's a lot of questions to ask, but some of these, they may not know what they have. Maybe they do. If you took it into someone in a professional shop, looked at it, and they said, yeah, we can tell that, you cracked the block or you forgot to winterize it. Yeah, then I could see that. But $2,000, even if, okay, so say the engine is smoked, right? Maybe you take 1,000, maybe you take 15, who knows, right? Maybe the thing is just taking up space and his wife's on his ass, right, to get rid of it. Who knows, right? But if we look at it and say, okay, well, what would it take to swap this out? Because you could take this, Stingray, 19 foot, right? 190. 19 foot, possibly drop. You'd have to get a new Y bar, the Y exhaust tube, because I don't think they transfer from the V6 to that. Maybe motor mounts, but it has the baffle, or yeah, you'd have to get the Y tube. It doesn't have in through. You could do in through hull exhaust if you know how to do that. But you could upgrade. You could get this boat, drop. I mean, I think a Mercruiser runs $5,000 for brand new, 5 to 7 for brand new. And then, but say you wanted to just get a rebuild and do a rebuild on it, then you're just out the exhaust manifolds. Some of the